Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's good to be back, and I have my completed travel journal here. This is my France and Belgium 2020 travel journal, and it's finished and I want to share it with you. And so if you caught my setup video, you would have seen this journal that I made, completely bare of like writing and photos and stuff, but like all set up and prepped and everything to go. I did almost all of it, actually. Yeah, all of it while I was on my trip. When I came home, I had to finish up some journaling, but that was about it. Everything else, like all the kind of scrapbooking and all the spreads and everything, were done when I was on my trip. So this is my journal. If you didn't catch that setup video, I'll try to leave a link up here and in the description box down below. But it is a fabric journal. It's about 6 by 8 in size, and I made it myself in sort of like a junk journal style, and I used mostly the Maggie Holmes Heritage collection for this journal. So I kind of made my fabric cover to match the colors in that collection. So I took this piece of fabric here, and it already had these little white embroidery spots on it, and so what I did was I took like coordinating embroidery floss, and I just kind of sewed all of these little like flower bunch things around some of the white flower buds that were already on the fabric, and I tried my best to match the colors to the colors of the Maggie Holmes collection. And so this is my journal. It held up really well. And yeah, so the inside, I just lined it with some pink linen, and this is it. This is my journal here. So this is the front page. I already had this prepped before I went, but I did fill in the details on the card that I have here. It's my little like who, what, where, when card. I always have one of these in every single travel journal that I make, because I just, like to know where I went, when, with whom, and then like why we went. And so that fits here in this little tuck spot, and that's just the intro page there. So I had this already in here prepped, and it was just a calendar, which I never actually filled out, and I should go back and fill in things that we did, like just little notes about that. But it's just a calendar that I made in sort of like a faux postcard using the elements from the Maggie Holmes collection. And then the first page obviously is the flight, so it spans like 2 days. And I just, when I work on these pages when I'm actually traveling, I try to keep them simple. This journal is very journal heavy. Usually all of my travel journals are very journal heavy as opposed to like pictures and stuff like that. So yeah, I moved this card. If you saw my setup video, it was over here. I moved it to be like in between the writing and the flight ticket stuff, and then I used this page just for some photographs. And so I printed all of my photographs on my little Canon Ivy printer. It's kind of like a HP Sprocket, but it's just the Canon version of it. And this is my first time ever taking it with me on a trip, and so it was very, I wouldn't say difficult, but it was, I wouldn't say difficult, maybe challenging to get a print that I liked the colors of, and I realized that I had to actually lighten all of my photos so that they didn't come out so dark. And yeah, so I didn't really print straight from my camera. I actually had to put it into Lightroom on my phone and lighten up things a little bit, and yeah, and then print them out. And so the colors are kind of, they're not the perfect, color quality that you would get if you like printed it at home or through free prints or whatever. Yeah, they're kind of like, I don't want to say toy-ish looking, but you can definitely tell that it's not like top quality. But I appreciate that my photos are all in my journal. How I journaled with this one though was I was very behind with journaling, and so towards the end you'll see what I mean, that some pages are kind of blank-ish, because what I did was after each day I would print out the photographs that I wanted to put in here, and I would start working on the layouts of my pages. So I did all like the scrappy parts first before journaling. And so a lot of the journaling I tried to match up with the day, but of course, depending on where I am in the journal, it doesn't necessarily match up with where the pictures are located, but it's all by day. And so this was the second day, or like the first full day, really, because the first day was sort of the travel day. And I actually, you know, glued down all of these big doilies here, and I like this little like writing spot that it creates there. And I did this on pages where it was just like a pattern paper next to like maybe another pattern paper, because normally when it doesn't have like a writing space or like a grid page, I tend to use them for photographs. And so these are photographs. First day, so we went to Paris and we stayed in Paris, like for the most part, for the entire week. And then 2 days we actually went to Belgium to do sort of like an overnight day trip to Brussels and Bruges. And so you'll see that when we get to those parts. But right now we're in Paris. This is our first day, and we took a very long walk. We went through Bastille, and then we went to I don't even know what it's called, Vosges, the place where Victor Hugo used to live. And then we kind of walked everywhere. We went to Notre Dame, and I used some of those pre-sketched watercolor things that I did in here. How to put them. I actually really liked this. I actually had to do another one while I was away. I brought the paper that was already watercolored. I just had to do the sketch. This was a pocket that was already made into my journal, and if you watch the setup video, you will notice that a lot of these cards are all rearranged now in this completed journal, because I just kind of wanted to put all those cards in setup so that I had my entire kit in my journal. And so as I was working through it, I just kind of picked and choose what I wanted to be where, basically. And so since we did Notre Dame this day, I, of course, pulled out the card with it on it, and I have journaling in the back. And so I tucked it into this pocket, and then this was another one of the vintage paper cards that I made, and I just did a collage with some more photos and more journaling in the back. So Notre Dame, this is a kind of like a very eerie photograph that I took of Notre Dame, because right now it's like all, it's closed off, like the entire block, if you call it a block, is like all closed off. Even like the little courtyard thing that's in front of it, it's just all blocked off. And so trying to get a photograph angled in a way where I don't have to see all that stuff happening, the construction and everything. And I went in winter time, of course, and so all the trees are bare. It's kind of eerie, this photograph here. Don't know what that is. I think it's a school. I took the photo when we were walking somewhere. And then this is the Pantheon that's there. And then, of course, another photograph of Notre Dame and the Seine. And yeah. So I use all this space, of course, to write around. I don't know what this church is, but it's a church next to the Pantheon, and it's very pretty. So I put that there. And then we walked from all of that to Luxembourg Gardens, and I have photographs of it here. And then that's the end of the first full day, day 1. And so how I dated everything was just the date. So if we go back, this is January 19th, then the 20th. So this day we spent the day at the Louvre, which is what I wrote here. And yeah, I had this pocket already here, and so what I did was I tucked stuff into it. I have this card here. I took a lot of photos of the Greek sculptures. That is what I really wanted to see going into the Louvre. I've been here before. We kind of did all of the touristy spots because my aunt came with us, and this was her first time in Paris, and so we had to just kind of do everything over again. And when I went the first time with my mom and my brother for their first time, they didn't want to go into the museum, but since it was cold and we figured this is something you can do for the day in like the wintertime, we went in, and I've already been in my first time. And so what I really wanted to see were the Greek sculptures, those galleries, because the first time that I went with my friend, we did the Mona Lisa, and then we kind of went the other way through, I think, Egypt and Africa, and we got bored like after like an hour because we realized, oh my god, this is like the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And yeah, so we never did like the other places, and so I kind of wanted to focus on the Greek sculptures. So that's what we did. We did go see the Mona Lisa because my aunt, of course, you need to see that when you're here. So I have here the ginormous museum map. So I kind of folded it up so that it'll fit into this pocket. And then I have this card that has a photograph that I took of a sculpture. It's so pretty. And this one too, and writing. And this card, I'm basically writing that I didn't take down the names of a lot of the sculptures that I took pictures of, which is terrible. This one I know the name because it's the Venus de Milo, of course, and then of course the Nike, the winged Nike, know that name. But like these other sculptures that I don't know, that they're not like really, I guess you can say, famous sculptures, I didn't take down any names. And so, yeah, I'm pretty sure if I go online I can find the names, but that was me journaling back there of how I don't know what these sculpt pieces are called. But yeah, so decorated the pocket. This was already pre-decorated. I put the Venus de Milo here, and then the train tickets. This was the ticket for the Louvre. This is outside of like the facade, not so much the pyramids, but like the facade of it on the inside. I had a Mona Lisa sticker and washi and stuff. More journaling. Then, you know, these little pages where everything is like pattern paper, that's what I try to use for my photographs. So I have Nike, the winged victory here. This is my favorite. I love this. I loved it when I was in school, when we learned about it, and I love it seeing in person again and again when I go. So lots of photographs of that. This is the next day. This is the day that we went off and took a train to do our Brussels, our Belgium stay. So this pocket was already here, so I used everything that was in the pocket that I had already. I put a receipt for the Tintin store in Brussels that I went in, and I bought something for my friend, and then I just have photographs here. I actually wrote down what these things are, which is amazing because I don't know why for this particular trip for my journal, I like would forget to jot down what these places are that I saw. So this is the view of the Grand, I think it's the Grand Place or whatever it's called. I don't know if it's a palace, but it says place on the thing. It's in like the little market square, the main square, at the steeple. I did some journaling in the back. And then this was the Royal Palace. And I just put it on the back of this card here. And then this is sort of my transition page. I have the train ticket to go to Paris Nord, and then my train ticket to go to Brussels, and then the kind of tram ticket from Brussels Midi to like the center. So when I went, which was maybe like a week or so ago, Paris, or not Paris, but France, they're like protesting and striking and stuff like that. And so this is funny. I actually wrote about it here, but our train, this particular train, was canceled that morning because of the strikes. And we had to go to the station. I mean, on like the Thales app, Thales, I think that's how you pronounce it. On the app, it was saying that we could take, like, our ticket was good for a different train that left around the same time going to Amsterdam, but it made a stop in Brussels. And so that was an interesting morning trying to figure out if that was true, and if, you know, like where to sit or whatever on this train that's going to Amsterdam now. So that was funny. That's what I ended up writing about here when I actually had space to write. This was a postcard that I got at the Tintin store. I actually bought my friend John. He was dog sitting for us. He loves Tintin, and so I knew that there was like a museum, and like there's like a comic museum, and then I didn't know that there was a store solely for Tintin in Brussels until we were all walking around and I saw it and I'm like, oh my god, this is where I have to get his gift. So I bought me a card, postcard to put in my journal, so that is there. And I did my journaling here and I broke it up. I wrote Brussels here. So in Paris, I didn't write Paris because I was staying in Paris for the most part. But when we were in Belgium, I kind of wanted to distinguish between Brussels and Bruges. So that's that. This page, I actually put this fabric here like already pre, and I know it says Paris, but I didn't do anything on it. It's just covering some photos that I took while in Brussels. And this is my sketch of this, what is this called? This is the Grand Place, or it's that big old building in the Market Square, which is this building here. And so I used the sketch right there. And then this is sort of like a, I don't know, it's kind of like a recap sort of page. I kind of collaged like all the different kind of photos that I took for different things that we did. So Belgium, lots of chocolate. We went into this chocolate store. Well, we went here to the Royal Gallery, St. Hubert. It's kind of like a little mall, I guess you can say. Went in there, and then of course my aunt spotted the chocolate shop, or there were many chocolate shops, but for some reason they wanted to go into this one, and so we went into this one. I had this vintage, I think it's like a typewriter or a register or something, but it was really cool, so I took a picture of that, and we got a lot of chocolate. We went into, like, I guess this has different stores in different places. We went into the store multiple times. We went in the train station. We went in, I think, in Bruges. This is just chocolate place. So chocolate and waffles, because the other thing that Belgium is kind of known for is the waffles. And so we went to Maison d'Andoy. I actually wrote this on my little things to see and do in Brussels. I think I got it from I'm pretty sure I got it from like a blog, like a travel blog. And so there was the one that I think I bookmarked on my Google Maps was like, the building looked like it got caught on fire or something, so it was like construction and everything, even though you can get a waffle at the stand that was outside of it, but like we wanted a place where we can sit, and so there was one in this little mall thing, and so that one night that we were there, we went and we had some waffles, so I took a picture of the waffles that I ate there. And this is the napkin. I just kind of peeled off the layers and glued it right here, so I have that. And then of course the Royal Galleries here, and then this was the ticket back to the train station the following day, I believe. Yes, the following day. I realized that I don't have the date here. I do on this day. But this should have been on over here, because our Airbnb that we stayed the one night in Brussels was walking distance from everything. So this is the little tram ticket for the next day to go back to Brussels Midi to catch a train to Bruges. So I have this pocket here. So this was like a little booklet that was in the galleries. I don't think it's in English, but what I did was I took it apart and kept the cover and like this page here, since it had another picture of the gallery, and then I just put the map on the inside, so I just kind of washi it all together. And then folded, of course, it can fit in to this pocket. So I took everything else out. Like I did the same thing in my I think it's my previous travel journal for London. For Harrods, you get like this big little guidebook. It's like really thick. I just took out the cover and like the maps of all the levels and bound it together and then put it in the journal, because I don't need all the other stuff, which are usually just ads and stuff like that for other things. So that's what I did here. And so this is the next day. This is the 22nd, which is a Wednesday. I used these stickers from the Crepe Paper Journal Studio book. They had, you know, numbers and then these days of the weeks. So I used that to kind of put the days of the weeks. And so this is our rail pass. It's I believe it's just like a Belgium domestic train rail pass. When we got to the station, I didn't know what sort of ticket we needed to do like a round trip from Brussels to Bruges. And so we went to the little info thing, and the guy there was like, how many are you? There was 4 of us. And so he said, if you need round trip tickets, it's cheaper to buy a rail pass, which is good for 10 rides. So this would be perfect for like 5 people to do like a round trip from Brussels and Bruges. And so we got the rail pass, and it's I don't know if you've ever traveled and you ever purchased a Eurorail or like the Interrail passes. It's basically the same. You get the little pass, and you just got to write out like where you're going, when, and stuff like that on here before you get on the train, and then they mark it off. So that's here. I actually have 2 rides left, and this thing expires in a year. So if I ever go back within the year, I can just like, I guess, take this out. But I made this into a pocket. I actually double-sided taped just the edges here, made into a pocket, and in the pocket I have the Bruges. And so these are my pictures from Bruges. This was my favorite part of the entire trip. I've never been to Bruges. I love it. It's beautiful. And I think that's why I like it so much, because it's really pretty and photogenic. It's very picturesque. It was winter time, so it was their off season. There were people, there were tourists, but they weren't as many as I, thought there would be. For the most part, you could walk from the train station in Bruges to the center, and that walk was very, very quiet. It was very quiet. Maybe there was like a few other people, like 2 or 3 people walking in like where we were walking, but for the most part, it was really quiet. Once we got to the center, that's where most of the people were, but generally it was just, you can tell it was the off season. A lot of places were closed. And, it's just, there was no, like, the boats that you can take, like the little boat ride tours that you can take, that wasn't a thing because it was winter time. So yeah, it was, it was off peak, and you can tell it was very quiet, it was very quaint. The best way that I can describe Bruges at this time in winter in January is like that whole scene from Beauty and the Beast, little town, it's a quiet village, like that. And that's what it was for me, and I loved it. And I really would love to go back in like the spring, because like when you're walking around, there's these beautiful willow trees, these little weeping willow trees, and they're bare, completely bare, but they're willow trees because the branches are all hanging like this, like over the, like, I guess the river. I don't know what these canals are called, and it's so pretty in the wintertime, completely bare. I can just imagine when it's full bloom, like with blossoms in the spring and like leaves in the summertime. It must be so gorgeous during that time, and so I really need to go back during that time to see that, because in the wintertime it was gorgeous. So just imagine when everything is abloom. Loved it. This is my type of place. Like, I have friends who don't really like Venice all too much. They like other places in Italy. I love Venice. I like cities on water. I don't know what it is about cities that are on the water that are like, you can, like, these cities are almost like no one lives here. Like, it's hard to imagine somebody living in Bruges, like actually live, like this is their home. I'm pretty sure there is, but they're very, I want to say touristy spots, but I don't like them because they're touristy spots. I like them because they're beautiful. There's these beautiful towns on water. It could also be the structures. I really like buildings that are different colors and mismatched, but even while they're all mismatched, like none of the buildings match each other, it all comes together. I don't know if I'm explaining any of this correctly, but like, that's just, I just love those places. So I can see why I was completely drawn to Bruges and why I loved it so much on this trip. So I'm rambling now. Let me just show you my journal. And so I took a lot of photographs of all of the houses and stuff like that. This bridge part with the house, oh my god, I loved this. I loved being there and just looking at this, and there was nobody there. Like no cars running, nothing. It was beautiful. It was very quiet and very just peaceful, and I loved it. So this was like one of my favorite spots. So I put it on this card here that I pre-decorated, and I did some journaling, so that tucks into the pocket along with this card here. I put Snapshots in Bruges, and it's just photographs or selfies of me and my mom, and so that goes in here, along with this little lace piece, embroidered piece. So in Bruges there were a bunch of shops. They were like little lace shops, like there were maybe a handful, like 5 of them as we were walking around. And so I went into 2 of them, and they're literally just lace shops. It's like handmade lace, and that's what they sell, just a bunch of lace things. So table runners, you know, place mats, pieces of just lace embroideries and stuff like that. And so I picked up 2 pieces. I picked up this little embroidered lace piece because I love things that are embroidered. I don't know what it is about it. It's just really pretty and really delicate, and I love this, the floral embroidery. And so I bought this one, and if I can get the other one that I bought, it is a bigger piece, and it's this one with other flowers embroidered on the side. And so I bought these, and then I bought like a little pouch that I just really liked the fabric that it was made out of. This little pouch has some lace and like it's embroidery but with like ribbon, and it's just a little pouch. I don't really have anything in here yet. I just really liked the pattern of the fabric and everything. So I don't know what I'm going to use this for. Right now it's hanging like this on my door. It's very pretty. I can always put like some potpourri in here or something, but it's very pretty, so I bought it. And I bought these. So I think I'm going to use this one for a different journal, but I decided that I was going to tuck this one in to the pocket to have it here. It's small enough, and like the purple kind of matches a little bit with the collection that I'm using, so I have that tucked in here. And yeah, I have a lot of these clusters of more photographs. Of course, I wanted to print out all the photographs from Bruges and put them in here, but of course, you know, I was limited on my photo paper, and I think I came back with 2 photo papers. I used a lot of vintage paper that I brought with me. This is actually German paper that Kaylee sent me, and I used a lot of it to collage behind. These little houses were perfect. These little stickers from the Heritage Collection were perfect for Bruges, because Bruges has a lot of those little houses around, and so it was very nice. The photographs that I took matched really well with the collection in Bruges specifically. This was a tuck spot here, one of the top tuck spots, and I think I had like some Paris ephemera in here that I used in a different place. So I bought this postcard while in Bruges, and there was a bunch of postcards like this, like the buildings, but they're kind of like reflective, and they're very kind of watercolory, and so I really liked this one a lot, and so I bought it because I thought it would match the best with my journal. And there's nothing in the back. I just kind of tucked it here. I just really like the imagery of that, and I think it goes really well with the colors of this journal. So I have that there. And then on this book page, I actually had to glue down some graph paper here so I can do some journaling. This is the Belfry of Bruges. I think it's like a clock tower, and it's in the middle square. So I think Brussels was the same way, so I don't know if this is all throughout Belgium, but like each city like has a main square, and like there's always something I guess at the center point of that square. And so for Bruges, it was this clock tower. So I have photographs of the clock tower here. And then this is, I don't know what this is, but it's also in Bruges. And then this is just my ticket back to, we had to take the train again back to Brussels to catch our train back to Paris. And so that's this ticket here, back to Paris, and then the train ticket back to our Airbnb from Paris Nord. And so that little section there, which is like this entire section here, is all Belgium, and then we're back into Paris. And so we had another couple of days in Paris. We had like maybe 4, I think. And so the day after, the Thursday, what did we do? I don't know what we did, but I did this little cluster here, I guess. Oh, I did this little cluster because we were back in Paris, and so I wanted to say that, oh, this is Paris again, you know? And so that's there. That's what we did. We did Arc de Triomphe, and we did the Eiffel Tower, and all that stuff on that side of Paris. I have another doily here where I did some journaling. Have the train ticket cluster here, and then I put the Arc de Triomphe postcard that I printed off here, and I glued it onto this book page because I knew I wasn't going to use the back to write like anything, so I just kind of made it like a little tip. And then another collage with my photographs here, and I had, of course, some Paris stickers, and so I had a little arc in 2 places. So this is the drawing that I actually had to do that I didn't do before I left. So if you caught my setup video, you would have known that I did this drawing beforehand. I did this drawing beforehand, and I did the Eiffel Tower drawing. Where is that? I did the Eiffel Tower drawing beforehand. I did those sketches before I left. I had them cut out in my ephemera little packet that I was bringing with me, but I did another watercolor thing to do another drawing. It's just I never did another drawing, and so I had to fill up space, because when I did all my little clusters of things, I realized that I left so much writing space, more writing space than I actually needed to leave, and so I was just trying to figure out how I can fill in some spaces so that it didn't look so bare. And so I did another drawing of the Arc de Triomphe, and these are just like random sketches. Like, I really tried my hardest to not be perfect or not to do them perfectly. Like, I have, everything's like not proportional or whatever. I have like places where I messed up and everything like that. I just, scribbles here, like, as long as it looks like the thing, that's all that mattered. And I actually really like how it turned out. So this is all on watercolor paper. I did like a little watercolor splotch thing, and then I just sketched over it. So this is Arc de Triomphe. We walked down, I cannot pronounce this to save my life, the Champs-Élysées, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's that, the famous, avenue with all the little, all the like high-end shops on it. We walked straight down that to kind of make our way down to where the Eiffel Tower was. And so I think that's what I journaled about. This was some ephemera that I had from one of my previous Paris trips. I bought a book, and this was like a letter that was in it. And I know none of this stuff is in the 9th arrondissement, but I liked the look of it, so I tore it up and I used it in different places, the letter. It's written in French, so I don't know what it says, but yes, I did my little Eiffel Tower cluster here, some stickers. I brought these 2 stickers along with me, I don't know why, so I just kind of placed them there, of the little girl and the little boy from the Heritage Collection. More journaling, and then I have photos here. This is by the, oh my god, the torch, the Liberty Flame torch, that eternal flame statue that's in Paris. It's in front of the tunnel that Princess Diana had her car accident in Paris. This is where we took these photos from. There's like that bridge there, and you can see the Eiffel Tower in the distance. So I took one of my aunt and my mom. These guys came out a little dark. And then I have the Eiffel Tower here. And so when we started our day late for this day, and I think because we were just tired from the travel day that we had before, and so by the time we got to like where the Eiffel Tower was, it was already nighttime, and so we caught it all lit up, and it actually did the little light dance for us and everything. And so this is, it looks better. Like, I'm pretty sure if I print this out on my printer, my Canon printer, it'll come out looking better than the little Canon Ivy printer, but it was very pretty. And so I have a photograph there, and then I have the Eiffel Tower card that I made, but I didn't do journaling on the back because I really didn't have anything else to say. I said everything on all these pages, so I just kind of stuck that in here, did a little cluster here, and I'm just gonna leave it there. Like, it's fine that it doesn't have any journaling on it. But this was what I was saying. I kind of did, when I sat down to do my pages, I did all of the little scrapbook kind of clusters first, and then I went and journaled. So sometimes I used up more pages for the clusters and left so much space to write that, you know, by the time I got someplace, I didn't really need to write anymore for that day. But it's fine. I'm completely okay with that. So this next day was kind of like a, I don't want to say a rest day because it really wasn't. What happened was that there were, I think, 2 demonstrations happening or 1 demonstration happening somewhere that kind of messed up the entire metro system in Paris. And so all of the trains were what they called disrupted. They were, you know, some, like our line, only 1 train out of 3 trains were running that day. And so lots of delays, lots of depending what time you take the train, lots of waiting, lots of people on the trains, and this is just the metro. Like, the whole system was a mess because of whatever demonstration, like protest that was happening. So what we did was we decided to do something where we can walk and not have to deal with the train. So we were going to go to Montreux, that's how you pronounce it. We were going to go to Sacré-Cœur this day, and so we decided to move that to the Saturday. And so what we did was, my brother stayed behind. He didn't want to come with us. We went shopping for souvenirs and stuff this day, so I don't have much to say here about this day. I did take this picture. We ended up walking down this, what is it? I think it's the Rue de Rivoli. I don't know what this is in front of. It's in front of a thing, and you walk across it, and you get to the Notre Dame area. But it was a carousel, because you know how Paris and France like their carousels. And it was very pretty, so I took a picture of that. These train tickets do not apply to this day. They actually apply to this day, but I needed something there, so I just kind of put them there. This is the next day. This is our last official full day in Paris, and we did Montmartre. And we took the train to Moulin Rouge first and then walked everything else. So that's what I have here. I have a little cluster of Moulin Rouge. I had the sticker that had Moulin Rouge. So of course I used up all the things for that. Again, another one of these doilies where I started the journaling here. And then this is where I really focused on the little scrapbooking clusters and left a lot of space, like so much space to journal. A lot of space that I didn't really need to use for journaling, but I really like these clusters of the photographs that I did. At this point, since it was the last day, I was trying to use up all of the papers and ephemera pieces that I had left over, and I can proudly say that everything that I took with me is in this journal. I managed to use everything and not bring 1 piece of ephemera back, and it's awesome. My sticker sheets, of course, I brought back because I still had stickers on them, like the alpha stickers and stuff like that, but the actual ephemera pieces and like the vintage papers that I brought and some of the stickers that I cut out of the bigger 6x12 sticker sheets, they're all in the journal, and I'm so happy about that. And so I did a lot of these like layered clusters throughout this part. So I have a lot of journaling there. I took photos of the street art around that neighborhood because there was a lot of these beautiful like mural things on the wall, like on the walls of the buildings and stuff. They're so pretty. So I did a lot of kind of like artsy clusters on this page, and then on this page here. Just, you know, again, to use up all of those pieces of ephemera that I had left over. And so this page is kind of put out Montmartre street art. And then this is a picture of Sacré-Cœur. And you can see here, my journaling stopped there, and I had all this space. And then I had all this space that I left over in another picture of Sacré-Cœur here. And there was no more for me to journal about on this day. And so instead of kind of thinking of more stuff that I wanted to say, I just kind of stopped there, and I just left this blank with this little cluster down here, and it was completely okay. It was fine. And so the next day was the travel day back home, and another one of these half doilies. And then this one, the sticker says Journey, and it says New York, and so I'm going back home to New York, and so that was fitting there. Sort of like the recap of our day. Nothing here, so I kind of left this page blank. And then I don't have pictures of this day because, of course, we were tired and we were trying to catch a flight and all the things. So I did a lot of journaling, and then I did sort of like a little recap of how I felt about the trip. And then I always do a top 10, and so I have a top 4. I have a top 4 for this particular trip. I might go back in if I think of things, but my top 4 was visiting Bruges, the Mason Dandoy waffles, they were delicious, the Belgium chocolate, and the day that we spent at the Louvre. This was my 4th time in Paris, and so, you know, after a while certain things don't excite you as they once did, and literally the high point of this trip for me was Bruges. I didn't really like Brussels very much, but I loved Bruges, and so most of this is big Belgium things, but the day at the Louvre was really fun. And that's it. So I have all these pages left over. I have my little flip up. I have a lot of, I have a few, not a lot, I have 2 of these cards that I had put into the pockets, and I think I'm just going to leave them in this journal. A lot of pages that are empty. This is the other one. But yeah, these are the pages that I have left over that, of course, I didn't fill up, which is not a lot. I did say in my setup video that I kind of went a little overboard with prepping and making this journal. I actually included a lot more pages than I initially thought that I would need, and I was completely correct on that. But I'm fine with leaving those pages blank and those cards in here. But yeah, so that is my France and Belgium 2020 travel journal. I really hope you enjoyed this little peek at my travel journal and listen to me talk about my trip and different things like that. Yeah, I'm going to probably take some photos of this journal, and I will have an entire gallery if you want to see each page individually. I always have a gallery of all of my journals and my scrapbooks, and you can find them on my site. The link is always in the description box down below if you're interested in seeing the photographs of this journal. But yeah, this was fun. I really liked how this journal turned out. Like, I feel like it was a more cohesive journal than all of my previous travel journals, and I did a lot of, I guess, proper scrapbooking, like the clusters and stuff like that, and I just really like how it looks. I'm in love with this Maggie Holmes collection. I think it's gorgeous, so that could be another reason why I really like how this journal turned out. I never actually used a collection before to make a travel journal, so this is the first, and I really like how it looks. Normally I just take out pieces that match with my vibe, like my theme or color scheme for the journal, and none of the pieces are from the same collection, so it's just me kind of picking and choosing what goes well together. When you work with a collection, like a full collection, all the pieces already match each other, and so it's very easy to kind of make a journal that is completely cohesive. And then of course adding a touch of vintage papers, you know, makes it feel a little bit more authentic. And yeah, I really love this journal. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.